What is the deal, y'all? It is Isaiah Fowler, the founder of SWAV Eyewear and SWAV Agency. And today is going to be a good episode. This is one of my favorite topics. It's probably going to make a few people mad, but I don't really care because this is what this whole platform is about, right? I'm here to help people keep their equity, right? And get the highest valuations for their companies as possible. And so when you think about this whole world that we're in with business and e-commerce, direct-to-consumer is the best business model, right? So today we're going to be talking about direct-to-consumer versus wholesale versus retail. And I'm going to break it down for you. And so once you kind of see and understand the numbers and the psychology behind everything, you know, I'm pretty sure you're going to want to just stay direct-to-consumer. So let's set the stage first. What is direct-to-consumer, what is wholesale, and what is retail, right? Direct-to-consumer, having complete control of the customer process and having direct contact with the customer, right? Essentially, you doing the marketing, you doing all of the fulfillment and everything, and you being able to speak with your customer and know who your customer is. What is wholesale? Wholesale and retail are similar, but retail sounds different because it's with bigger, big box retailers. But basically, wholesaling is, selling your product in bulk. Let's say you do a partnership with, HBO or something like that. And so being able to sell your products to them, let's say one product, let's say you sell, I sell sunglasses, right? Eyewear. Our sunglasses are between $130 and like right now $170. So wholesale is, hey, I have, 100 units, and instead of our retail price, we'll give it to you 60% off, right? And only if you buy X amount of these. And retail is basically getting into Target or, for me, Sunglass Hut or whatever the case is, right? So those are three different things. And you also have third-party platforms as well. Etsy, Amazon, et cetera, et cetera. So those are all the different options you have when you're like, hey, I want to start this product-based business. And also brick and mortar as well, but we're not talking about brick and mortar. So my stance and philosophy is there's nothing better than direct-to-consumer. So when you think about, if we line them all up, direct-to-consumer, wholesale, retail, third party, there's nothing that's going to beat the longevity of direct-to-consumer. And at a fundamental level, at a very fundamental level, it's really only about customer data. At a fundamental level, customer data. People try to, argue it all the time. But watch this. If you don't have any customer data, you don't have a business. You got to hustle, right? The biggest brands in the world build their companies through data. And data is bigger than ever now. You got all these SaaS companies, you got all these companies, and they're fighting over data. This whole iOS thing, that was over data. So these big companies are literally having wars over data. So if you, as a direct-to-consumer brand, can understand that and wrap your hand around that, you can be a very, very, very powerful company in the next 3 to 5 years. But direct-to-consumer is a long-term play, right? What is customer data? Emails, phone numbers. Those are two fundamental things that a person needs usually to buy a product on the internet. It's not like you have to beg people to give you this information. If they want the product, they're going to give you that information because you're going to have to communicate when that product is going to get to their doorstep anyway. This is the new way of the world. The old way of doing business is wholesale and, thinking that you got to get into big box retailers to be successful or have a big company, right? So when you run the numbers, let's say that for math purposes, let's say that your product that you're selling, whatever it is, let's say it's $100, right? So let's think about this. Let's say on average, you have a customer, in 1 year, your customer will spend, let's say $400 with you. That's $100 every quarter. That's a $400 LTV over the span of 1 year, which is 12 months, right? But let's say that you do wholesale. And let's say you sell your products wholesale at a 60% discount. So what you could have sold on your website for $100, you're selling to somebody else for $40 or $60 or $50, whatever you decide your wholesale price is. But it's usually like 60%, depending on the industry or whatever, right? So let's think about this. You take 100 of your products or 200 at half off, just for math purposes, for $50. Okay. Now what happens is, yes, you get money right now, but you don't get any customer data. You don't get any customer data. So how are you going to be able to build a brand and a long-term business around this? How? You can't build a brand without customer data because you're always going to be shooting in the dark, right? But what if you lay it brick by brick and you continue to learn who your customer is? In 3 to 5 years, nobody's going to be able to fuck with you in your industry because you're going to have all this data. You're going to have 100,000 emails. And then that's when you're going to be able to send out an email and make $60,000. Or you're going to have a launch that within the first day, you're going to make $150,000. That's the power of direct to consumer. Direct to consumer is all about leverage. The earlier you start trying to get into stores, wholesale, you're doing it just for the money. See, the mindset is you got to put yourself in a position where you're not focused on the money in the beginning. And I know it's hard, but long term, if you keep your leverage and you stay direct to consumer, the value that your company will have will be much greater than somebody else in your industry that was focusing on wholesale. Because customer data is value, right? Let's say you want to get an investor. Let's say you're doing $5 million a year, but only, let's say 1 million of it is off your website and the other 4 million is in stores and wholesale, right? And let's say somebody else is doing 2 million a year or 3 million a year, but this all direct to consumer off their website. The company that has 2 million a year in revenue, but it's all off their website, and the company that has 5 million a year, but only 1 million of it is from their website, most likely, depending on the internal structure of the company that's doing 3 million or 2 million a year with all direct to consumer, the valuation will be higher. Because when you're operating wholesale and retail, that's a brand play, right? A lot of people say, oh, I want to be in Target, and they're doing like $100,000 a year. You got to understand, you don't do stuff like that until your supply chain is fully good. When you know you can have no hiccups at all, then that's when you can sit here and say, okay, we'll do wholesale and we'll get into retail. Because here's the thing. Getting into retail, like big box retailers, that is a market share play. Market share play. And when you study business, you're still a baby in business when you're doing 1-2 million a year. You're not even in the market share of the industry until about 15 million, right? So you can stay direct to consumer 10, 15, $20 million easily. Because once you're hitting 15 million, 20 million, you're just now entering into the market share of the actual industry, right? We're in a time now where people are just now starting businesses. And so $1 million is a lot to them. But you got to think, it's companies out there that's valued at $1 trillion. It's companies out there that's doing 100 million. It's companies out there that's doing 80 million and exiting for, 350 million, right? You got to start to really understand this. If you want to really build something powerful and long term and really set the future up, you got to keep your leverage. Now, how do you do that? The way you keep your leverage and stay direct to consumer is become a master of content. Content is the driving force of direct to consumer brands. And then of course money, because money allows you to distribute that content. But content is the key. Video, photo, copywriting, right? That's what content is. The videos you see, the photos you see, wherever they're placed on the advertisements, that is content. If you do not want to create content for your brand, then you're most likely going to do wholesale. You're most likely going to want to get into retail because I don't want my face out there. I don't want to create content. But here's the thing. You don't have to do it. See, we're living in a time where people think that they have to get in front of the camera and say, oh, this is my brand. This is my product. No. But what you got to do is start understanding the power of content. If you want to be the face of your brand, perfectly fine. But you don't necessarily have to be. But you got to get into the mindset of investing into content, right? Invest into content to build up your direct to consumer. That's why I have a strategical branding agency that helps people understand that and see the long-term vision. If you're doing $500,000 a year and you're doing wholesale, I guarantee you, I can show you how you could make more by doing less and have a higher valuation from your company and set you up for a bigger payout, a bigger payday, and actually have a vision for your company. Most people are operating without a vision. When you got a vision, that's why I say everything starts with a vision. It all starts in the vision and the images inside of your mind. But a lot of people don't have that. So they go for the money. And when you're going for just the money, you're not going to be able to maximize your full potential. I'm trying to help you maximize your full potential by understanding direct to consumer. There's nothing better than direct to consumer. You don't have to wait on net 30s, net 60s, net 90s. All you got to do is learn how to market your business, market your product, market your business, market your product. More people are going to come to you to buy your product. That's the secret sauce. That's the blueprint. Learn how to market your business. Learn how to market your product and put out content. Come up with stories. Create narratives. That's direct to consumer. There's nothing better than direct to consumer. And I will stand by that. I will live by that, and I will die by that. Because once you get to a point where you got 20,000 emails and you can send out an email at any time you want, ask your customer something, build a relationship with them, right? And they actually rock with the brand. What's better than that? What is better than that? See, a lot of people, when they're trying to get into stores, it's all the ego. Their ego wants that because they can literally focus on creating content, finding their customers, and make a gang of money. But they want to be in stores so that everybody can see that they're in stores. That's ego. And retail is a big beast. And think about it. If you're doing direct to consumer and you're making $200,000 a year, here's what's going to happen if you go into retail. You're not going to survive because your brand isn't built up enough, right? To the point where people are going to be like, oh, that's this brand. I want to buy it from here. That's why you got to build up the brand first. A store, a retail store, they're not going to sell shit for you. They're not selling anything for you. You need to learn how to sell your product on your own at scale. Point blank, period. No store is going to save you. No wholesale order is going to save you. It may make you some money, but when we're talking about from the perspective of building a brand for the long term, you got to go direct to consumer. And the person, the company that is closest to their consumer is going to win. The person that's closest to their consumer is going to win. If we got this brand and this brand, they're both in the same industry, and one is only in stores and another has 45, 60,000 email addresses, and at any time they can contact their consumers and say, yo, we gonna be here, hey, pull up, we doing this event, we gonna do this. And this brand over here only has 3,000. Who do you think is gonna be able to do more things and be more powerful and build a better relationship with the customer base? The brand with the customer data. And that's why customer data is king. There's nothing better than having customer data. You can do surveys, you can do giveaways, you can do all kind of things. But because direct to consumer is a long-term play and it's not a whole bunch of money up front, you got to put out more than you're going to get back in the beginning. But over time, you'll end up getting back way more. But most people don't have the patience for what direct to consumer is really about, right? So I really want y'all to think about those things. If you're doing wholesale right now, go D2C. I'm not saying right now, I'm not saying immediately, I'm not saying, be a radical and just say, oh, direct to consumer and sacrifice your business. But I'm saying really, really, really think about this. And it's really nothing to think about, but really think about how you're going to go about this. Because right now, the world is up for grabs. And you're either going to do it or you're not. That's just what it is. So what are you going to do? Are you going to go D2C? I just laid out everything for you. And these are all facts. Go look at the history of all these businesses. Customer data is everything. The brand that has the most customer data is the brand that's going to win. Point blank, period. Because you can leverage that data to make the money. So instead of trying to get the money, get the customer data, you leverage the customer data to make the money forever. That's how you play the game. You feel me? So that's the episode today, man. That's the 35th episode. Be sure to subscribe to this channel, to this podcast. This is all about direct to consumer. All these topics, man. We gonna just be going all in on direct to consumer because I really wanna help people, man, and I wanna change people's lives and get y'all to understand the power of what we really sitting on, in 2021 and this new economy that we in and we've been in for some time now. Right? So if you want a strategy session, I do something called strategic intensives. All you got to do is just click the link under this video or go to the website, SWAVagency.com, SWAV agency.com, and just schedule a call, a little discovery call, and then we'll see if, it's a solid fit and we go from there. But always know, ain't nothing better than direct to consumer. And always remember, everything you do in life starts with a vision. Peace.